Hey, family. Okay, so look, I want to try to, I guess, untangle the fear of the spiritual, like demystify it, because I know, not just religion, but cultures, different cultures, they make uh, people fear what they don't understand, kind of thing. So then, and they also, in their fear, demonize it without knowledge of it. So, okay, so again with spirits, um, if you don't believe in spirits, like how can you believe in God, who is a spirit, right? Um, okay, so I have some notes here to try to explain the difference between intuition and spiritual discernment. Okay, and so I don't want the fear of it, but just to help people be able to understand what it is, because it's not to erase caution, but just to empower your discernment. So intuition is the ability to understand something instinctively without conscious reasoning, often described as a gut feeling. Discernment, on the other hand, involves using that intuitive insight to make an informed decision and aligns with the actions of one's values and beliefs. Spiritual discernment is a process that involves listening to the voice of God, studying sacred texts, and is the ability to distinguish between truth from falsehood, right and wrong, good and evil, is a gift from the divine. So denying the spirits denies God. So we need to not just replace, fear with discernment. Um, I'm just go through all the notes that I had. Okay. All right. So religion historically used fear as a control, like don't question, don't explore, else you will be deceived. But this creates dependency on human authority. They don't want you to go anywhere except through them. Like they're the sole authority, and you can't do it on your own. Is what they keep, telling you. Yet Christ said, "Come to me, come to me." He's drawing you. Come out of her, and all religion agrees that they're talking of false religion, except they believe that theirs is the true religion. We already talked about what true religion was according to James, whereas taking care of the orphans and the widows. Anyway, fear makes people turn away from spirit altogether, leaving them confused and powerless, and that's what they want. You don't have any power. Where is the power? How do Christ say you're going to do greater things than these, and you're scared of spirituality, or spirits, or anything spirit? How can you do good? How can God, how do you hear God's still small voice? How do you decipher between God's voice, because he says my sheep hear my voice, and your own, which is not your own? Because remember, we're to um call down all imagination, cast down any imagination that exalts itself against the thought of God, right? So how can you distinguish between, like, the other noise from, like, that goes in your head, like you just talking to yourself, like, oh, grandma said, or what I should be doing, versus that still small voice where your creator tells you to go a different way, you know um okay, they told you all spirits are dangerous, but that's not what the Bible said. It doesn't say fear the spirits, it said test the spirits. That's a big difference. So actually, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. See? Fear is a spirit. Everything is spirit. This is spiritual warfare. This is why this is so important. Because everything is spiritual. Everything. Govern means control. Mint means mind. Government, mind control. So governing bodies, got all of it is to control your mind. But everything is spiritual. That's why if you want to fight the weapons, remember, we fight not in the flesh, for our weapons are spiritual, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So everything is spiritual. We gotta understand it, and you can't be afraid. You just have to be wise, get discernment. Okay? Yeah. It's not the fear of the spirit, it's the test of spirit. Empowerment comes from discernment, not fear. The scripture says God is a spirit. Spirit is the core of faith. The Bible warns of false spirits, but also affirms the spirit of truth. The reality, spirit exists. Some align with divine love, some not. The problem isn't spirits existing. The problem is not knowing how to test and discern them. Here's how to know if a spirit is from God. Does it bring peace? Does it bring clarity? Does it bring love? Does it confess that Christ is the Lord? Or does it bring confusion? Does it bring fear? Does it bring bondage? Remember, you can judge a tree by its fruit. Test the fruits. Galatians 5 tells us the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, etc. versus the fruits of deception: fear, confusion, bondage. Judge the fruit, not the label. Be right there. Okay, so I'm back. All right, so again, untangling demystifying the spookiness that religion and traditions been putting around spiritism or spirituality. Okay, so religion tangled things by saying that all spirits are dangerous. Truth is, not all spirits are the same. Discernment means asking, does the spirit or the message align with truth, love, peace, and again with what Christ says? Like, it will still always match your word. Okay, but certain things might not. Like, if you're going down a path and you hear that still small voice, it's like, make a left here. Seriously, it just comes sometime. Like, you could just avoid your disaster following your intuition. So it's really important, because it's like, it does align with the scriptures, but you want to have, like, on your daily life, like, who you should be with when your spirit is telling you, no, this person isn't right, even though on paper, they're presenting as, but something does not. That still small voice is just like, no, you're going to have to be able to discern, or you're going to fall into the traps. You need spiritual discernment. That's why they don't want you to have it, because again, knowledge is power, and they don't want you to have the power. And once you get that power, then to use it, you need wisdom, and wisdom only comes from God. So anyway, let's go on. Yeah, empowerment comes from learning to test the spirits, and this is according to 1 John 4:1. Matter of fact, I'll look that up for you. Okay, so 1 John 4. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confess not that Jesus Christ come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard, and it should come, and even now is already in the world. You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. We are of God. He that knoweth God hears us. He that is not of God heareth not us. Hereby we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. So again, you don't have to be afraid. Make sure that you read your scriptures, you work on your relationship with God, and you get to know this is not a time anymore for believing, family. Well, you are the chosen, so you know, but for everyone else, believing, that's last year. It says even the demons believe and they tremble. Now is the time of knowing. Those that know the Lord their God shall do great exploits. In this way, when you know, you can't be deceived. If you hear anything else, it's like knowing when you know anybody that you love or have a personal relationship with, and somebody tell you something, you like, no, that doesn't sound like them. Like, so you won't be deceived. But if you don't know the person, like Creflo Dollar, he listen to him in the morning sometimes, but he always uses this example of how people say God helps a child, or God blesses the child that can help itself, or something like that. And it's like Benjamin Franklin said that. Actually, God, the scriptures say, you are the branches, I'm the vine. You can do nothing apart from me. So we got to make sure, just because they say God says don't mean God said. So that's why if you don't read it, for yourself, and you don't have that personal relationship, you don't know. So anyway, prophets versus diviners. Okay, so Joseph and Daniel look like diviners, but they weren't. It says a quick contrast between spirit-led prophecy versus control-driven divination is the source and alignment matters more than the method. Remember Moses, and then you had the King Pharaoh, Magi. So there is power, but God's is greater, and your source is always what matters. But they can, the dark, or the cheap magicians or whatever, will be able to deceive you. Remember, they're lying wonders and things like that. And how can you block against it? I mean, Moses had his staff, which they might call a wand, and turned into a snake and ate up the other magician's staffs. So because greater is he that's in you. So I just wanted people not to fear. And now we get to part 5, freedom. Okay? When fear is removed, people can experience God's spirit personally, walk in wisdom without religious control, engage with spiritual practices, dreams, visions, intuition, divination like tools with discernment instead of fear. So don't fear the spiritual is the takeaway from this. Learn discernment. Recognize that God's spirit brings peace, clarity, truth, and freedom. Fear keeps us in bondage. It keeps us bound, but discernment sets us free to walk in spirit and in truth, which is the way that we must serve God. All who serve God must serve him in spirit and in truth. Okay, so is anything else? Yeah, it's probably a lot more. I'm gonna definitely be talking about this more. I'm gonna do more research, because I wanna find more scriptures and just like be able to put together like a nice explanation, or just try to break it down so that people are not afraid, and that they stop making words or the labels demonized. Stop fearing what you don't understand. Study it. The light should never fear the dark, period. You are the light, right? Now, I'm not saying don't be reckless, but as you pray and go within, you can go where you're guided to go. You gotta not be, use that wisdom. But again, your first step, fear the Lord. Even King Solomon, the greatest, magician, as they call him, it's like in his book it says the beginning of wisdom is to fear the Lord. So that's why you gotta know before. Let's see, I was over here, but you know the Bible a study and the Kabbalion. The Kabbalion really will break down how the universal laws work. Is it there? And here's another thing with words, okay? So we say Christ, right? Okay, so we make it, religious. So people say, but in John also it says in the beginning was the Word, right? It was the Word. And universe, one word, like it's the same thing. Family, like they just remember the diabolical. That's what literally it means. It means to divide. So they got you thinking that, different words like, magic is different from miracles. They're both supernatural. Okay? Now, you have two sources, though. A lesser source and the greater source. So it's like, make sure you tapped into the greater source, your creator, and not the, anyway. Yeah, I'll stop here for now. I'll be back though. Love you.